The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Everybody, that's right. It is Tuesday, June 10th, and today is National Frosted Cookie Day. Today, you guys. Those Mother's oatmeal cookies were always really good. I think that's probably like the best frosted cookie out there.
I'm not a big cookie person, but I'll have to take your word for it.
I'm not a big cookie person either, but that's just one of the things that I remember from.
You were a cookie person.
From when I ate cookies. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's also National Egg Roll Day, Todd.
Hey, everybody loves a good egg roll.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They're not talking about how eggs roll either, Todd, just so you know.
Got it.
All right.
No, there's two things that Jews know.
What's that?
Where to get good Chinese food.
Todd, we're not starting the day like this.
And where to get good Chinese food.
That is true. That is 100% true. Every Christmas, the Chinese restaurants are packed.
But I'm
Yes,
saying.
they are.
Yep.
And the casino's packed with Chinese people.
Very true. That is true, too. I have witnessed that a couple of times. It's also National Herbs and Spices Day today, you guys.
Nice.
Oh,
I mean,
I
just
had
tweed-
Margiana's last day. Shout out to Herbs and Spices.
Tweed Day, then.
It is technically a weed day. Yeah, you're 100% right about that. Herbs and spice, everything nice. Yeah.
June 10th, we'll have to add that to 420 and 710.
Today is also National Black Cow Day.
Why has it got to be racist?
That's not racist.
Can't it just be Cow Day?
It's a special breed.
Chocolate milk from somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, it's also National Iced Tea Day.
Okay. I mean, I'm more of a sweet tea kind of girl, but
Everyone always has. Everyone always has something to say.
I know it's weird, right?
That's why she needs the sugar to make her sweeter.
That's right.
Listen, I'm America's sweetheart. Wait till Jason introduces me in case you need a reminder.
Oh boy. It's also National Ballpoint Pen Day today, you guys.
Okay. I'm more of a gel girl, but fine.
Really?
What do you do on National Ballpoint Day? What's the celebration?
I thought it was a celebration for bald guys.
No, put something right, Todd. The bald's got a point.
See what we did there, Todd? I figured you would enjoy that, Todd. Well, anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we are going to kick it off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills, and apparently has to remind people that she's America's sweetheart. So we will do it again. America's sweetheart. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals get their life back on track when they've been victims of the track. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
All right, so dogs are spirited this morning. Hey.
Tell Theo to relax.
Theo, calm down. Easy, puppy Satan. I love you.
Puppy,
right,
did
well.
you tell him Puppy Satan?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
He's 3 months old. It's like the dog version of Terrible Twos. Let's also talk about some other terrible stuff that happened first thing in the morning, because I'm so sorry, Minnesota. First thing in the morning, because I'm Lord. In Minnesota's inaugural recreational cannabis license lottery, all 249 winners received an alarming email early on Monday saying their applications were denied. The message shared by a staff member at the Office of Cannabis Management caused widespread panic, only to be corrected later the same morning, confirming that the winners were all indeed still on track to receive their licenses. What a roller coaster. One of the 74 applicants selected for retail licenses said she had absolutely zero faith in the process, and it quickly turned into relief once the office issues a correction. You guys can read the rest of the article. That's pretty much the gist of it. But, like, come on, clerical errors. This shit's getting crazy.
You know, I wonder how many of these licensees immediately jumped to their lawyer to start filing a lawsuit, or already had a lawsuit ready to file, and now just wasted money on a filing fee because of the fact of this mishap by the state.
They have spell check. They use spell check.
I think an hour is pretty quick to fire that off, but hey.
You know, a lot of these people, they you know, are like, you know, ultra sensitive to things like this, and you know what I'm saying. You know, Michael, I think it's, you know, from that time, an hour is plenty of time to fire off a lawsuit, isn't it? If you already have it prepared.
Yeah, I would think that anybody who's acting in that space would, you know, especially in a situation like this, contact the department or whatever first and try to get in touch with them and see what was going on. But, you know.
Todd, what do you think about all this, Todd?
Hey, look, you know, as long as humans are involved, there's going to be clerical errors. Right?
So does that mean that you're advocating for AI?
I think so.
I'm advocating for AI for sure.
Okay, all right.
I think AI can replace lots of clerical jobs, lots of data entry jobs, lots of all of that stuff. For sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
I think it's going to change the way we do things over the next several years. And
What's
those
that?
folks who have those jobs are going to go need new training of some sort.
What's that going to do to all those union jobs you support, Todd? Is there going to be an AI union all of a sudden?
I don't think there will be an AI union because there is zero regulation with AI with this administration. So I think it'll be chaos until the White House changes.
Well, I mean, that's because you guys want it to be chaos. You guys enjoy the madness.
Oh yeah, that's why we elected the Chaos Master.
He's not the Chaos Master. Stop it.
Dude,
That's
every single day there's a news story of how he's fucking somebody else. So.
I mean, I felt that way when Biden was in place. I felt like I was getting screwed every which way every single day on every single word that came out of his mouth.
Can you give me an example of one thing that he screwed you on?
Everything. Just the fact, just tons of things.
One specific example.
Yeah, he's tried screwing the whole industry over by trying to push Schedule 3. How about that for an example? He pushed it.
Did it happen?
He pushed it. He was a Schedule 3 pusher, bro.
Did it happen?
Well, that's because he's incapable of a lot of things.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right, so he didn't fuck with you then.
He did. He totally did.
The hater, bro.
No, I'm not a hater. I'm just a realist. Bro.
I mean, Todd, if I meant to steal your car and I, couldn't get it to start, that doesn't mean that I didn't mean to steal your car.
Yep, exactly.
But in reality,
your window still got bipped.
Didn't steal it.
Your window still got bipped.
Mr. Minardi, are there not laws that are, prefaced on the intention to commit a crime, whether you're successful or not?
Yeah, it depends. Yes, there are. You can be an attempted crime, absolutely.
See? An attempted crime, not to mention...
You guys don't even like when your guy gets convicted of crimes. You say, oh, that's okay.
He never got convicted of anything.
Those are trumped up crimes.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Reality.
Fake,
yeah,
fake.
see? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all...
If you try to break into my car, penalty.
It's all malarkey. You know that, Todd. You know it's all. You know.
You're using a Biden term, malarkey.
I like that word. I think that's probably the best thing that Biden did was popularize that term. Oh man, this was fun. This was fun, you guys.
Talk about it Tuesday. What's our first commercial about?
I'm about to go into that, our first commercial, and we are going to be right back. Yeah.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Victor.
Yeah. Oh man, you guys. Man, oh man, do I have a story for you guys today, and we are back. Because there's a DEA diversion scandal has been exposed, Todd. Can you believe this?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There's a marijuana drug development obstruction, you guys, by the DEA. Because the DEA is back to training school, and a DEA bureaucrat blocks science while ignoring their own training manual, you guys. How funny is this? DEA assistant administrators and attorneys need a summer assignment, and MMJ Biopharma Cultivation has a suggestion. Go back and read your own policy statement and training manual, they say. For years, the DEA deputy administrator has been the face of the obstruction inside the DEA's diversion control division, using his signature to delay, deny, and destroy federally compliant scientific research, including the case of MMJ Biopharma Cultivation, which has been blocked from developing pharmaceutical-grade cannabis for over 2,300 days, they say. But now, documents from the DEA's own internal guidance, sections 5202.5 and 5201.12 of the Diversion Control Manual expose a truth that Przeworznik either doesn't understand or is deliberately ignoring, you guys. The DEA is required to support bona fide Schedule I research, expedite applications, and allow legitimate brokers to possess international shipments without registering as importers. Yet, under the DEA's direction, the DEA has done exactly the opposite. Section 5202.5, the DEA policy Przeworznik pretends doesn't exist. They say, let's review what the DEA's own policy says. In a quote, DEA fully supports bona fide research utilizing Schedule I controlled substances for legitimate purposes. And in an additional quote out of their handbook, it says, DEA works closely with the FDA and the National Institute of Health to ensure that research applications are approved expeditiously. And in an additional quote, every effort should be made to expedite any applications for Schedule I research from legitimate individuals, they say. So why did the DEA deny MMJ's Biopharma's collective action plan without offering any path forward? Why has the DEA delayed MMJ's cannabis manufacturing registration for 7 years, forced unconstitutional ALJ hearings, refused to recognize FDA orphan drug designations, sabotaged legitimate research despite a clear mandate to expedite it? Well, either the division administrators were sleeping in school, or they skipped this section of the manual, or he's actively violating it itself. Section 5201.12, the international hypocrisy, in the internal Hypocrisy. DEA's blockade doesn't stop at domestic research. In an absurd twist of hypocrisy, the DEA allows international corporations to export and import Schedule I substances using unregistered brokers, as long as a DEA registered entity is involved. Per section 5201.12, in a quote, a controlled substance import-export broker who handles paperwork and makes shipping arrangements but does not take possession is not required to register with the DEA. So why is the DEA targeting companies like MMJ Biopharma Cultivation, which have followed every step of the law, while ignoring large adult-use marijuana firms illegally shipping Schedule I substances overseas? The answer is clear. This isn't about compliance, it's about bias, control, and corruption, they say. DEA's real mission is delay, not diversion, they say. And while DEA's published mission is to ensure an adequate and uninterrupted supply of controlled substances for medical and scientific needs, Privzornik has twisted that mandate into a blockade, they say. The DEA, they say, is violating federal law, including the Medical Marijuana and Cannabinoid Research Expansion Act. They are ignoring President Trump's Right to Try Act, as well as defying a Supreme Court precedent by pushing unconstitutional ALJs and sabotaging lawful FDA-aligned companies with MMJ and Biopharma, you guys. And they say this isn't just unethical, it's a direct betrayal of the DEA's own rulebook. The DEA administrator must send his diversion agents back to school or out the door, they say. And as a DEA administrator nominee Terry Cole prepares to take the reins, he must make a choice. Allow bureaucratic sabotage to continue or restore the agency's credibility by enforcing the policies already in writing. That means terminating agents' role in cannabis and psilocybin oversight, auditing all denied Schedule I research applications since 2018, and restoring MMJ Biopharma's registration rights and enforcing DEA's own internal policies as written in 5202.5 and 5201.12. Because the only thing more dangerous than violating the law is violating it while pretending you're upholding it. It's time to graduate from the DEA obstruction schoolhouse, and the DEA diversion and the cast of clowns has had 2 decades to learn how to administer the DEA's mission. Instead, he's written it behind closed doors with zero transparency and at the expense of patience, science, and federal law. Well, the DEA diversion administrator needs to start by reading their own manual. And do us all a favor. Start with section 5202.5 and then read 5201.12 and then resign. Because no agency can lead while being led by someone who doesn't follow their own manual, they say. Well, look at this. Man, the hype beast is coming out, and I can't wait to hear what you guys got to say about this. The DEA is being hypocritical of their own instruction manual. What do y'all got to say?
Right now. God, what?
Shocking that is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why doesn't Pam Bondi pull in the reins and get everybody in order? Hey,
I mean,
you're talking about the 258 million people that were saved by fentanyl arrests.
I mean, I totally, I actually agree with you kind of on this one. I'm not sure if it's necessarily Pam Bondi's job to do that, although she is the head of the Justice Department, so I can see where you could come up with that. But I feel like this is like an internal.
She's in charge.
She's in charge of everything overall. But I think this would. But I think this is something that Mr. Cole needs to deal with as being the head of the DEA. Like this is a DEA administrative thing more than I think it is overall Justice Department. Position, Todd.
Hey, look, shit rolls downhill, right? So, yes, you're right. Derek Maltz has to be a guy who makes it right, but he's got to also, Pam Bondi doesn't know what she's doing, so going to her for advice would not be good. So hopefully they get their shit together. And but the DEA has been a crooked organization since the 70s.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That is
they've
true.
Been stealing drugs from people, and they've been infiltrating.
Pam Bondi and all the political stuff that we're talking about. Like, Why are we sitting here at our big old ages acting like we don't know that cops, no matter what agency they are, do whatever the fuck they want?
Yeah, no, I'm saying they've been crooked for a long time, and they do. They walk around and they do what they want. There's no oversight. That's why I'm saying.
So you're saying they're the honey badger.
And Bondi needs to get control, or Derek Maltz needs to get control of this organization and set things right.
Mm-hmm. What do you got to say, Michael? You're on mute, Michael. You're on mute.
The problem is they get control of this organization. Their control is wanting to keep their jobs. And as they continue to see these drug laws change throughout the country, especially cannabis being one of the most proliferated and most used drugs, I mean, they're scared of this. That's why I think they have the delays over the scheduling process, all the potential corruption involved in that, you know, all the lobbying that they do against legalization of different substances, despite all the evidence in support of it being more beneficial than the criminalization of it. So this is the DEA just looking out for their own backs and making sure they all have jobs next week.
Interesting. I mean, I think what it ultimately comes down to is they don't want to lose their enforcement power, because cannabis is such a gateway to them being able to open up people's doors and being able to have that as something in their tool belt that really is like the igniting point for a lot of investigations.
When funding was taken away for cannabis arrests and cannabis, related crimes, didn't bust them. Right? They didn't bust cannabis places.
Yep.
They went on to other things. So that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
Move the funding for any kind of cannabis crime.
Well, I think the only way that's going to happen is with a full descheduling, Todd. Is to remove it from any of their enforcement powers whatsoever.
I don't know. The Cole memo had
The Cole memo never. No, it did not. The Cole memo did not do anything. No, it did not. No, it did not. That's 100% fake news. No way. No, Todd, the Cole memo was a directive, and a directive has actually no teeth in it to be able to tell agents what to do or anything like that. It was strictly a like, hey guys, you guys should operate like this, not you have to operate like this.
It's true, but they did end funding for any kind of cannabis related.
Yeah, but crime. that's through Rohrabacher Farr. That's not through anything with the Cole memo. That's through an appropriations bill.
Okay, so they did that.
Yeah.
Right.
Good morning, Yarrow. Are we interrupting your breakfast?
Yarrow.
Go ahead, Todd. Finish what you were saying.
I'm just saying. So where is that Rohrabacher bill, and why are they funded again? And
well,
they're not. That's not the case. That's not the case.
Let Michael talk, since he's probably got a good bit of information and understanding in this.
And I was going to say, we have to differentiate that. The Rohrabacher Farr Amendment was only for medical. So, the DEA can still go in.
That's actually not true.
The original Rohrabacher Farr Amendment
yes. No, you're correct in the wording, but the thing about it, Michael, what most people don't understand is that appropriations bills are written in such broad context, that it actually also encompasses adult use in regards with once they've mentioned medical, because basically it prohibits them from even extrapolating any funds to investigate if something is adult use or medical or whatnot. So therefore, it all falls under the medical guise, because they don't have the funding to determine whether or not it is or it isn't medical.
You're saying don't pay attention to the actual words, right?
No, I'm just saying that because appropriations bills are written in such broad space that by them labeling medical, it actually covers adult use as well. Most people don't understand this, but that's actually how it works and how it translates.
So if just as went to a state college, so take it for what it is. But I'm pretty sure, if they were going to write it in such a broad stroke, it would have been written with the language like state legal cannabis operations.
It does include that language. It does include that language
instead of specifying medical. But I don't know. I think that I do appreciate Mr. Minardi's legal expertise and understanding of legal definitions. So I don't know, but let's let him finish his point, and then we can see if you want to argue it still.
I'm gonna stand on my pedestal all day, but please, Michael, finish.
His damn point, yes. Is all I'm saying.
Well, and I agree it could be interpreted legally. I don't think that there's been a court case that has interpreted it that way, but it seems like the DEA definitely has interpreted it in not enforcing these types of laws. But we've also seen law enforcement more or less on the state level too with regards to hemp, right? That's not supposed to be a controlled substance anymore.
You're right.
And even the USPS and even agencies across the country are seizing, hemp packages as well, even though those are not supposed to be controlled substances. So I think we have to remove it, and we have to really make law enforcement clearly understand in all aspects that they shouldn't be, investigating this or criminalizing businesses and adults 21 plus for using it. Underage possession, just like alcohol, fine. Civil infraction, civil fine. But the DEA, I think, in mostly these issues, all of the cannabis issues, is really fighting, just like law enforcement on local levels fight it, is to keep their forfeiture money and to keep their doors open. There was an article years ago about a probation officer in Texas who was asked about what would legalization look like, what would it mean for their office, and she said, I think half the people in here would lose their jobs. So I think really that's what this delay and their interpretation of it, even their continued interpretation of the definition of hemp and the different products that people are supposed to be able to use, continues to get skewed over time because DEA doesn't like this product, wants to keep their job. And that's my fundamental issue with why they continue to screw shit up and not listen to their own rules and regulations.
Fair enough. Yarrow, you have anything you want to throw in on this? I know you kind of missed the beginning of the story, but it's pretty juicy. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Look at this. First time ever, High and Nine News, Yarrow is speechless, you guys.
I think he's got food in his mouth and he's embarrassed. He doesn't want to talk.
In there. Lift your tongue. We've all been to jail. Lift your tongue. Let me.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to cough, Jenny.
It's actually bend over, spread them, and cough
Bend
is actually
over.
Yeah.
Present it.
Well, on that note, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into Mr. Michael Minardi. Mr. Michael Minardi is a lawyer from the great state of Florida and has been helping cannabis advocates, patients, businesses at his firm Minardi Law in the great state of Florida for over 20 years. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Michael Minardi.
Hello, everyone, and welcome High Noon to the East Coasters. And we're going right back to the DEA because you know what? They are sitting on their hands on all sorts of issues. And so this is a Marijuana Moment article from Mr. Yeager. Doctor seeking to reschedule psilocybin to treat dying patients demands DEA update after agency agreed to initiate federal review. Attorneys for a doctor seeking to reschedule psilocybin so he can administer it to terminally ill patients are demanding an update from the DEA, which previously agreed to submit a request for a scientific review of the psychedelic from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. In a letter to Toman Provoznik, Assistant Administrator of DEA's Diversion Control Division, Attorney Catherine Tucker said that the advocates appreciate that the agency was gathering necessary data to transmit to HHS with a request for a scientific and medical evaluation and scheduling recommendation for psilocybin in response to their rescheduling petition. Of course, psilocybin has achieved breakthrough designation for treatment-resistant depression in 2018 and major depressive disorder in 2019, and it is in phase 3 clinical trials at the FDA, the letter said. But the lawyers want to know if DEA has followed through on its commitment and incorporated updated research they provided, confirming the medical efficacy and safety of psilocybin. Can you advise if the transmittal has occurred and if we can offer further assistance in moving this important matter further? Tucker, who is representing the Washington state-based doctor Sunil Agrawal of the AIMS Institute, asked. The doctor continues to provide care to patients with advanced and terminal cancer who could greatly benefit from psilocybin-assisted therapy, enabling them to experience a more peaceful dying process. The reality for patients with progressive disease is that they do not have much time left, the letter says, adding that he hopes moving psilocybin from Schedule 1 to 2 under the CSA will enable access pursuant to the right to try laws which contemplate early access for promising new drugs with those with life-threatening conditions. We appreciate your efforts to respect the reality such patients face and move this matter promptly forward. News that DEA agreed to submit a request for an HHS review and scheduling recommendation for psilocybin largely flew under the radar. It's a notable development considering that the agency previously rejected a rescheduling petition from the doctor. After the initial denial, the U.S. District Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit in October of 23 reversed the DEA's decision, and 16 months later in February 25, the DEA complied with the order and agreed to move the petition forward with a request for scientific review into psilocybin rescheduling. They've been working since 2020 to find a way to legally obtain psilocybin for patients in palliative care, initially seeking to win permission from regulators under state and federal right to try laws. The same Ninth Circuit also rejected a legal challenge from the doctor in that separate case, with the panel affirming the DEA provided a reasonable explanation. When the DEA rebuffed the request, the doctor sued in early 22. The federal appellate panel dismissed the lawsuit, opining that the court lacked jurisdiction because the DEA's rejection of the doctor's administrative request didn't constitute a reviewable action. The panel heard oral arguments last August, and they argued that they should open a path to legal use of psilocybin and other controlled substance, but attorneys for the DEA contended in April filing that the federal right to try law signed into law in 2018 by President Trump does not provide any exceptions from CSA restrictions. The doctor and Ames have spent years trying to do this from different avenues and have still continued to be stonewalled. You know, I think that this is a great aspect, especially at this time with the announcement a couple weeks ago related to the new deputy director of HHS, who has been as well pushing for psilocybin and other modalities for treatment. You know, this continues to be another travesty, and I think the pharmaceutical companies in the pockets of the FDA and the DEA to continue to leave harmful and more dangerous medications available for PTSD and other depression than, you know, psilocybin. And it's really sad that we're going through this. But the DEA is noted, again, are sitting on their hands related to a lot of different issues regarding this. We just heard the article about them not approving doctors' studies in an efficient manner. There's also been studies by the Office of Administrative Management on the federal level that has pushed the DEA to process applications for psychedelic churches throughout the country, asking for exemptions, for religious exemptions, and they failed to do so. So the DEA, again, is sitting on their hands for any of these controlled substances, watching and seeing, you know, their jobs and the positions in their office slowly slip away. As to why, you know, this whole Federal Bureau of Narcotics was started back in the day when they ended alcohol prohibition. They needed something else to attack, and they started attacking marijuana and other drugs. What do you guys think?
Man. What do you got to say,
Go
Jenny?
ahead, Jason.
Go ahead.
I mean, that's a whole lot of mans while you gather your thoughts, but were you ready?
Yeah, no, go ahead, Jenny, please. Please, by all means. Ladies first. Ladies first.
I can't wait to hear what you say on this one.
I mean, this is just more of the same. This is what they do. This ties in perfectly with my last story. Is the DEA constantly hindering progress on all these different plant medicines because they have a preordained agenda of still wanting to make arrests and busts and whatnot. And this is a perfect example of that, because their name of the game is asset forfeiture, because that's how is a large portion of their overall funding.
That's just
every new
more of the same. It's more of the same, the same.
Mm-hmm.
Every new Humvee a law enforcement agency gets, that's what you think of.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Without a doubt. Jenny Beth, what's the matter? What's going on with you?
Nothing's the matter with me. What's up?
Oh, okay. All right. Normally you have a lot to say, and I'm surprised you don't have anything to say.
Well, no, I just appreciate, we just commented on the DEA and what they do and how they are, and then we did another story about the DEA, and I appreciate the lack of redundancy in this episode, because people are like, yeah, we just fucking said it, you know what I mean? Like, we get it. And it sucks, but I think both stories are really important. I'm glad that we got the meat and potatoes out of the way, but I think sometimes the commentary,
Yeah, we need to dodge the DEA. and move on.
Doge, yes. I'm down with that. They just really need to focus on fentanyl eradication, methamphetamine, heroin, those types of things, and not necessarily on the trees. You know what I mean? Or even the psilocybin stuff. You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys,
running Doge now. Running Doge.
Anyway, also I'm having to be quiet today because Theo is not being quiet, so I'm on mute quite a lot because I don't want Yarrow's tism to tick off. He doesn't like background noise.
Yarrow, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's great deflection when somebody doesn't take ownership for learning how to mute when they're not talking.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
And it's also part and parcel to sort of what you guys do for those who I guess identify as far right. This sort of constant deflection, which I think is practiced by those who identify as full elephants. So I like that Jenny practices that, whether it's not muting or not knowing when to be muted or regurgitating talking points. So it's all good. The diversity of opinion and the back and forth is what I'm here for.
Well, just so you know, Yarrow, I'm throwing this in the chat right now too. It's not about deflection. It's about reflection. And all we're doing is reflecting what we're seeing come from your side.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if that feels good to say, if that's like your swaddled security blanket for why we're seeing an erosion of civil liberties and rights under this administration, and Jenny can't mute up her microphone when her dog is barking.
Yeah,
even
Jenny.
She's been on the show for over a year.
Exactly.
I mean, you guys tell yourselves whatever you need to. It's totally fine with me.
Commentary on the actual substance of the article.
No, I thought I'd start a broader argument that would be a little bit more feisty.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm here for it all the time with Yarrow. I'm all about it.
I mean, look, comment on the article. This is just another example of where we find the DEA being an obstructionist tool to not allow policy to move forward as quickly as it otherwise could have. We saw the big debacle with the rescheduling, descheduling thing that went nowhere. And I was the first person on this show when Jenny wasn't on her cell phone saying that it was going to be a nothing burger. And it was a nothing burger. It went nowhere. And people spent a ton of time talking about the what ifs and the has and the future tripping. And the ecosystem was ablaze and LinkedIn was about this and that. And you had all these podcasts about people talking about what the world was going to look like when it was different. And it went nowhere and nothing was different. And it was business as usual. And it was just a big charade and it went nowhere. And the DEA has an important, noble mandate in this country, which is to fight fentanyl and other things and to maybe put those soiled chapters behind them, like the ones where they were bringing in cocaine and selling it in the inner city and using it to fund weapons purchases for the Contras and whatnot. But we don't have to think about that anymore, right?
Yeah.
We can say that the people who did that are probably long since retired and sucking off the government teat while they enjoy their pensions, and that the people who are there now really want to make a difference. And if they do want to make a difference, I think the fight is fentanyl. And I think that organization would be best served to really clarify what it's working on. And what it seems to be working on is obstructing the progression of policy related to plant medicine, whether it's cannabis or psilocybin or some of these other things that might have promise, both therapeutically and recreationally, and just not being so heavily enforced against. I don't think the culture there is capable of that level of shift unless everybody who works there is mandated to eat those mushrooms so they can understand.
Oh, that would be good.
This is not the threat.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Oh, that would be fun. Well, speaking of nothing burgers and whatnot, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back. Oh, and we are back, you guys. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read later on our website at www.highat9news.com. Make sure you go into the description of this video as well and check out all the sponsors that help us out with this show. And make sure that you use the link to order yourself a case of Liberal Tears shipped directly to your door. 150 milligrams of caffeine in every can and 0 grams of sugar, and no snowflakes were harmed in the making of this product.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
All right, Jenny Beth, you got Mr. Todd Denkin next.
Oh, man. Woody's not arguing with Jason about the right and the left. Todd's busy hanging at home with his wife, worried about the birds and the bees. The founder of DigiPath Labs and the Smuggleverse, the original bald head on the High at 9 News, Todd Denkin.
And the crowd goes.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. How's it going, guys? I have another Fed story here, as the feds warn retailers that accepting welfare benefits for marijuana or CBD could result in criminal prosecution.
Oh, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture is reminding all retailers that accept federal welfare benefits they are prohibited from selling products containing cannabis to people using Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or better known as SNAP funds, and that violating the rule could lead to penalties that include possible criminal prosecution. In a letter to more than 250,000 retailers participating in the SNAP USDA Food and Nutrition Services, the service administrator, James Miller, said on Thursday, the department is, quote, committed to fighting waste, fraud, and abuse, unquote, which includes, quote, taking swift action to eliminate fraud occurring in the SNAP retailer community and rooting out fraudsters who take advantage of taxpayers' generosity. Her participation as a SNAP authorized retailer serves an important purpose. Retailers connect American families to nutritious food each day, Miller said. More than 41 million low-income people redeem their SNAP benefits at stores nationwide each month. SNAP funded by American taxpayers must be operated with integrity and accountability. All participating retailers must follow the SNAP rules to protect taxpayer dollars. To that end, he wrote, the letter serves as a reminder that it is a program violation to accept SNAP benefits for food and drinks containing controlled substances such as cannabis or marijuana. USDA FNS is actively fighting fraud and preserving taxpayer dollars, it says. Retailers who commit program violations will face consequences, which include disqualification from the ability to accept SNAP benefits, monetary penalties, fines, and or criminal prosecution. It's not clear why USDA felt the update on the rules around cannabis was necessary, but it also comes amid a series of changes to the department's FAQ page that similarly reiterates the policy. Past week, the FAQ's cannabis language was added and revised at least 3 times. As originally updated, it said SNAP benefits can't go to cannabis-related or CBD food and drink products. And it was changed to list marijuana and cannabis without mentioning CBD. Now, in the latest update posted on Wednesday, it says that food and drinks containing controlled substances such as cannabis/marijuana and CBD are ineligible. In any case, the FAQ language doesn't necessarily represent a policy change, as the USDA first issued guidance back in 2020, stipulating that while people can use SNAP benefits for certain foods containing, quote, old hemp seed protein powder, and hemp seed oil, they cannot buy hemp plants, leaves, and shoots. USDA further clarified at the time that foods containing cannabis-derived products such as CBD and other controlled substances are not eligible to be purchased with SNAP benefits, similar to what's articulated in the latest update to the FAQ. The same language was maintained in another update last year. The letter and FAQ update comes at a time when many in the cannabis space are closely watching for signals about how the administration will navigate marijuana and hemp issues during President Donald Trump's second term. In his first term, Trump signed the 2018 Farm Bill that federally legalized hemp, creating an industry that has since experienced significant volatility amid concerns about the resulting proliferation of largely unregulated market for intoxicating cannabinoid products. Despite signing that legislation into law and later endorsing marijuana rescheduling and industry banking access on the 2024 campaign trail, the president hasn't publicly commented on cannabis policy issues since taking office in January. Shocking. Meanwhile, a pair of GOP-led congressional bills filed last month would prevent people from using federal financial assistance under the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Act, and they can't use those at cannabis dispensaries. Back at the USDA, the agency recently released a notice that is terminating a series of trade advisory committees to comply with an executive order Trump signed in February that's meant to reduce the size of the federal government across multiple agencies. One of those committees that had been expanded to include hemp industry representatives to promote the crop internationally. A report released by the USDA in April found that even as more states and some congressional lawmakers pursued bans on consumable hemp products, the industry saw significant growth in 2024. The National Hemp Report, which the USDA conducts annually to assess the economic health of the market, showed that hemp farmers cultivated 45,294 acres of the crop last year, up 64% from 2023, and the industry's value jumped about 40% to about $445 million. As the fate of consumable hemp market remains murky amid legislation, a congressional committee held a hearing on the Food and Drug Administration last month. The hemp industry expert explaining how the market is, quote, egging federal regulations around cannabis products. Lawmakers have consistently raised concerns about FDA's refusal to establish rules allowing the marketing or federally legal hemp as a food item or dietary supplement. One potential legislative solution, U.S. Hemp Roundtable's Jonathan Miller noted to the committee, is a bipartisan bill Senator Ron Wyden, a Democrat from Oregon, filed last year that would create a federal regulatory framework for hemp-derived cannabinoids. Legislation would empower states to set their own rules for hemp products such as CBD, while also empowering the FDA to ensure that certain safety standards are met in the marketplace. In the absence of the FDA rules, states from California to Florida to Texas have pushed for sweeping changes to their own laws around consumable hemp products. Much of the focus has been on intoxicating products. Federally legal CBD businesses have also found themselves increasingly in the crosshairs. On Thursday, a GOP-led House committee has approved a spending bill containing provisions that hemp stakeholders say would devastate the industry, prohibiting most consumable cannabinoid products were federally legalized during the first Trump administration. Meanwhile, as lawmakers prepare to once again take up large-scale agricultural legislation session, congressional researchers in January provided an overview on the policy landscape around hemp, emphasizing the divides around various cannabis-related proposals among legislators, stakeholders, and advocates. The Democrats released the long-awaited draft of the 2024 Farm Bill last year that contains several proposed changes to federal hemp laws, including the provisions to amend how the legal limit of THC is measured and reducing regulatory barriers for farmers who grow the crop for grain or fiber. Certain stakeholders had expressed concern that part of the intent of the legislation was to, quote, eliminate a whole range of products, unquote, that are now sold in the market. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News. So we just don't want poor people to smoke weed. Right?
Oh, come on, Todd. Let's not do that. First of all, like, we know, I almost said something terrible. I'm gonna roll back.
Go for it, Jenny.
Let's go ahead and first address why they put marijuana and cannabis, and then CBD, because Jason says that they paint with broad strokes. They were trying to make sure that Jason doesn't have any loopholes that he can run around through. Second of all,
Hold on, Jenny. Hold on. How is CBD listed as a controlled substance? I'm confused by that. That doesn't make any sense.
It's not, and that's a weird part. And they said controlled substances, and then they listed CBD as well. Because here's the thing. SNAP is a program that is very important in this country. What it is very important for is for children and families who are fucking starving to have food to put into their mouths, right? So there's been an egregious misuse of this program. I don't think that